In a time when global narratives are often shaped by digital manipulation and echo chambers, Nigeria is stepping forward to champion a smarter, stronger alliance between diplomacy, media, and national security. This was the key message at the Maiden International Conference on Diplomacy and Security, held in Abuja and organized by the Diplomatic Correspondents Association of Nigeria. Foreign Affairs Minister Ambassador Yusuf Maitama-Tuga, represented by his Special Assistant on Media Al-Qasim Abdul Kadir, called for a bold shift in how the media engages with security and diplomacy.
The international system is contending with new and evolving threats, state and non-state conflicts, the weaponization of disinformation, resurgent protectionism, technological disruptions, and a widening trust deficit between relations and within societies. Nigeria is not immune to these trends as Africa's most populous country and its largest economy. Nigeria occupies a pivotal place in regional and global affairs. It is our duty to attend to strategic clarity and principled leadership. In response to these realities, Nigeria has adopted the 4Ds foreign policy strategy: democracy, development, demography, and diaspora. Each D reflects both a national imperative and a global responsibility. One of the more fundamental threats facing diplomacy today is the rise of strategic misperceptions fueled not by misunderstanding alone, but by orchestrated disinformation, deep fake technologies, and hostile narratives. Nigeria has experienced the first-hand from manipulated media in conflict zones to false reporting on our democratic processes and military operations. Such distortions erode trust, escalate tensions, and hinder international cooperation. The antidote for these distortions lies in tripartite alignment. Diplomacy, it remains the most tested instrument of peace and understanding. Our diplomats are frontline actors in countering misperceptions with truth, building alliances, protecting Nigeria's image and interests abroad. The traditional and digital media shapes perception before policy is understood. That is why Nigeria has adopted a proactive public diplomacy approach, engaging international media platforms and investing in narrative sovereignty. We must move from reactive communication to strategic communication, projecting not only our policies, but also our values, vision, and voice.
The conference tackled a critical question: how can the media, diplomacy, and intelligence agencies work together to preserve national stability and global peace? Professor Ghali of the University of Abuja traced the role of diplomacy through history, from the Treaty of Versailles to the rise of fascism, highlighting how poorly handled narratives and appeasement once led the world into catastrophe.
Germany ended up being punished, and the punishment reparation on Germany was part of the remote causational factors that led to the outbreak of the Second World War. So this is diplomacy. But look at the League of Nations, for example. The League of Nations was meant not to have the reoccurrence of such war, especially the Great War, diplomatic engagement. The Washington Naval Conference, 1921, which called for disarmament, among states. So these are all good diplomatic engagement. So coming down to the media, misperceptions and misconception of news and event that produce wrongful media reportage due to misconception, misperception, misunderstanding, and ignorance. That calls for what? Constant training and perpetual training, just like what a brother just said earlier. But apart from that, if the journalist is well informed and aware, and he is poor, because the media houses underpay the journalist. So therefore, if the journalists are being underpaid and they have brown envelope, they could actually misinform and they could actually spread disinformation. It's just like a teacher, you underpay a cheat teacher, then you are paving ways and rooms for corruption. Because the teacher might be corrupt because he's not getting what he's supposed to get. So also applicable to journalists. If journalists are not well paid, are not duly paid, then the issue of poverty will persist. And it's one of the triggers of misinformation and disinformation. Why? Because the journalists will continue to receive money from the client and spread any form of information, that the client so wish to be disseminated. So these are some of the areas, but we should also look at the positive. The media is important and significant, especially in creating dialogue, and dialogue for peace to exist. They help in peace building. They also facilitate and influence, public opinion to a better society as well as international society.
For DICAN President Idehai Frederick, the conference is just the beginning of what he calls a new era of diplomatic literacy for journalists covering national security beats. At stake is more than just good reporting, it's about securing the nation's image, protecting its citizens from digital warfare, and ensuring Nigeria remains an active voice for peace in the global stage.